This episode is brought to you by Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is the ultimate all-out warfare experience. Rip through the skies in aerial dogfights. Demolish your surroundings for a strategic advantage. Harness complete control over every action and movement using the kinesthetic combat system. Drop into multiplayer with your squad, or fight furiously as a member of the Dagger 1-3 squad in a gritty, adrenaline-fueled single-player campaign where you'll defend a world on the edge of collapse.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana makes car selling fast and easy from start to finish. Enter your license plate or VIN and get a real offer in seconds, down to the penny. If you accept, Carvana will come pick up your car from your driveway. Or you can drop it off at one of our car vending machines. Either way, you get paid instantly. It's fast, transparent, and 100% online. Car selling that saves your time. That's Carvana.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello and welcome along to the Tricky Talks podcast as Forest continue their long unbeaten run under Ange Postecoglou, having not lost for 7 days. We talk to a fellow Australian about Ange, following Forest from halfway around the world, and a whole lot more. We'll introduce our guest in a moment, but first, on this very early Sunday morning, Kate is here. How are you, Kate?
I'm good, thanks. I'm always up early on a Sunday.
Mollo is here as always. Are you always up early on a Sunday, Mollo?
Seem to be this year because we seem to be going to Forest matches in places like Newcastle, don't we? So, yeah. She's late compared to last week.
And we're delighted to welcome to the show, live all the way from Australia, is Aussie Dave. G'day, mate.
G'day, mates. How are we doing? Thanks for having me on the show, Simon. It's never a dull moment being a Nottingham Forest fan, is there?
It's never dull, so we got plenty to chat about, of course. But like I say, welcome to the show, Dave. You're our first ever guest on the Tricky Talks podcast.
What a moment. Well, thanks for having me on. I have listened to a couple of episodes, and look, you're all really good except for Mollo, so congratulations. I do like Mollo's moment. No, you're absolutely... Just, look, what I'll say about what I don't think a lot of people understand is the ecosystem of Nottingham Forest content creators and there's a range of them, and I've appeared on a couple of them, but the role that you play in educating and making Nottingham Forest fans, like that Forest All Over the World song, like that really means something, and the Forest fans are typically almost always brilliant, and just the ways that Nottingham makes you feel connected to the team when you're an out-of-towner. It's just a special club, and I love being part of it, and got a great relationship with the team at the moment. So, yeah, happy to come on. And I think of everyone who might do Nottingham Forest podcasting, YouTubing, or whatever it is, I think I'm the most pro Ange Postecoglou that there is, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, we'll get onto that, Dave.
It's just who we are, mate.
It is. Just talk to us a little bit about your Forest fandom. How did you become a fan, and what it's like following Forest from halfway around the world?
So I started following Forest thanks to my brother Andrew, who was a keen Nottingham Forest fan. He's a little bit older than I am. Look, the Forest heyday, the Clough days, and he really supported them during the European Cup triumphs. And so I fell in love with, and I didn't have much access to watch Nottingham Forest, so we would get a 1-hour clip show of all of the then Division 1 matches. And so I would see 5 minutes of Forest a week in my early days. And then I remember my brother making me watch the League Cup finals and, of course, the FA Cup final with the Pierce free kick. And I remember just really being a young kid thinking, how cool is the manager of Nottingham Forest? And I loved his tracksuit. So he used to have this, so I know he wore the green jumper. He used to always have this like red and white and black like tracksuit. I thought it was so cool. And I tried to go around finding shops that would sell something similar and did find one. And then in the 1990s, I was a championship manager kid. So I was thinking about this on the way. And so we were so held off from what was happening in the Premier League that I didn't know that Stan Collymore had been sold to Liverpool until I got the new championship manager and he wasn't on the Forest team. And I was absolutely spewing when that happened. And so I must have spent years playing that. And then, so I supported Nottingham Forest in my high school days. And so back in Australia in the late 90s, when Forest got relegated with Pierre Van Hooijdonk, I used to pay $3 for a newspaper called British Soccer Week that would have 2 paragraphs on Nottingham Forest. And I remember each week reading about Van Hooijdonk still isn't playing, Cooper's getting sold, Steve Stone's leaving now, and just the heartbreak of that. And then it was that 20 years in the wilderness made it very difficult to be an international Forest fan. And, I remember waking up and the worst one was when it was the 6-goal turnaround when we were making the playoffs. And then I remember waking up for that and watching the last 30 minutes of that thinking, how does this happen? And then obviously the promotion season helped and Forest being on television a lot more. And then once they're back in the Premier League, it's just so much easier to watch. And so I've visited Nottingham probably 4 or 5 times in my lifetime. Got an excellent record. So I'm 10 wins from 12 matches, having only lost the Chelsea relegation match, which didn't end up mattering, and sadly the FA Cup semi-final. So I spent an absolute fortune to get to Wembley, and I got my heart broken in the morning realising Molo was so short, and then got my heart broken when Forest also. But what a terrific day that was, and so what a great season. I also saw the Brighton penalty shootout. I cried, so that was quite a moving moment. But just, I've just seen. So someone who visits Nottingham.
My 10-year-old cried at that as well.
God, it was just so moving. And my girlfriend's name is Ange, right? So this is very funny. So I now have Big Ange and Little Ange in my life. So I was like, she's like, you better not start calling me Big Ange. And so she said, are you crying? And I'm like, I was just so emotional. And what I think made that quarterfinal win was that it was Ryan Yates who scored. It just made it so much bigger. And so what supporting Nottingham Forest has done for me, and it's given me, I've got Molo and I've now got you guys, and I'm a regular on Ben Dawes' channel, and he's just a terrific human being and how he's embraced me, and I've met a whole bunch of people. And so what I just absolutely love about supporting Nottingham Forest is just the evolution and seeing Nottingham as a town grow. And I kid you not, from 3 years ago to now, it just looks better. And if you're in it all the time, you may not notice, but it's just better. It looks great. It's vibrant. It's just all happening. And I'm so pleased for us, really, that we're on that Premier League journey. And there's so much Forest chat now. I kid you not, when Ange Postecoglou got signed for Forest as the manager, iPhone went absolutely berserk for 3 days, people asking me. So we'll get on to Little Ange. Well, sorry, Big Ange.
I'm not getting on to Little Ange.
You're a very handsome man, Molo, so I'm sure she...
I didn't mean it like that. What's wrong with you?
I know.
I've cried 3 times at this introduction. I tell you, happiness, sadness, frustration. You've taken us through the whole Forest journey the last sort of 25 years. It's killing me.
So the
last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, the last 2 weeks, that promotion moment. So I watched it at my ex-girlfriend's place, and she just couldn't understand. So I'm going to come over and watch this playoff final, and it was an unusual time for the matches, and so she had no idea what was going on when I was screaming, and we copped noise complaints. And so for those that are out there, so that in Australia the matches are typically 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and I am known. I got a brilliant letter from my landlord that said, "Dear David, we know that your team is now in the Premier League, and we know you're highly excited. And we'd like to inform you that the rest of your apartment block does not share the same excitement as you, nor do they watch the same matches, nor do they care that Taiwo Wanyi's just scored." And I think they referenced Taiwo somehow, and I think the guy knew. So, but it's just it's so brilliant, Nottingham, and it's your relationship. I think I like to think that your relationship with the team changes, and everyone has a different relationship, right? And so sometimes you love them, sometimes you hate them, sometimes you're loving them, and other people are hating them. Sometimes you're understanding and other times people aren't understanding. I'm going through moments of understanding at the moment. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's chat Ange Postecoglou, don't we? Because I just have a feeling you guys are going to be pretty negative and I'm going to be... Maybe let's hold our nerve.
You know what? I don't think we've been as negative as what we could have been, have we, guys? I don't think there's any doubt with what our viewpoint is, but I think we could have been a lot more negative, couldn't we, Kate?
Yes, definitely. I think, we're generally of the opinion that we support Nottingham Forest and therefore we support the manager. And I don't think any of us would have had Ange as our first choice. In fact, the only person I think I've ever heard say that Ange would be the first choice is you, Dave. Of all the Forest fans I've spoken to, but that's okay. But equally, and I know we'll get onto this a little bit later, I'm not necessarily Team Dyche either. So yeah, let's talk about it. Tell us, Dave. What's the word on the street in Australia? Are they still very pro Ange? Are they still pro him being at Forest? What are your thoughts?
Well, he exploded out of the blocks with a bunch of mainstream Australian news television coverage of Ange Postecoglou, and they had the mainstream reporters at the first Nottingham Forest press conferences. And so then, since the performances haven't been as strong, he's gotten less coverage. The take at the moment around the Australian fans, and certainly my circles, is it's a big swing signing Ange Postecoglou as the manager, right? Like, it's a different style, and so clearly Marinakis has made the choice under Edu that they thought they needed an alternate playing style to that under Nuno, and Nuno's standoffish, counter-attack, no possession, had a ceiling. And by signing Ange, they thought, all right, we've got to have more possession-based football and press higher, and so that's going to change the dynamic of the team. It's what they would say in the NFL is a big swing. And so I'm still on the, hey, we need to see this through from the big swing, but it's how long can you hold your nerve, and how long is it? So to the point of the Dyche conversation, or when is it the time for Big Sam, type manager to just come in and make sure that we don't get relegated type thinking, where you change the thinking, which would be absolutely a disaster. But what Marinakis has clearly thought, and this is my take, is Marinakis and Edo clearly think that, and so Ange Postecoglou of those options was the best. But I have a worry for us that actually managing Nottingham Forest is not an attractive managerial position, and one, because of the owner, and I don't think you're getting sacked in the morning chance helped us attract a future manager either. And normally, and I love the Nottingham Forest fans, and they're hilarious. Like, don't get me wrong, the Forest fans are hilarious, but we're trying to, we want Forest to be the place to come along, and he's been here for 7 matches, and he's getting booed out of his own stadium. Doesn't exactly scream, does it, Simon?
No, it doesn't. I mean, where do your loyalties lie, Dave? Is it with supporting Forest, or how much of Ange being an Australian is skewing your viewpoint at the moment about your support for him and your support for the team? Where do your loyalties lie? It's a difficult one, isn't it, to balance?
Oh, the loyalties with
from
Forest,
an Aussie
and
perspective.
I want Forest to be successful. I think I'm more likely to have a few games. I think he's got until the Liverpool match to at least show something. The loyalty question I always ask Simon of anyone is if Nottingham Forest were playing Wales and you're supporting England, how many Nottingham Forest players would need to be in the Wales team? Against 0 Forest players, would you support Wales? Is it 2? Is it 4? Or is it 6? Or is it 8? And maybe that's getting into Kate's trivia question. If there were 8 Forest players on the Wales team versus 0 on the England team, would you support Wales?
No, I wouldn't. I'd support England still, of course.
Come on, Kate?
That's a really nice moment, isn't it, to mention Nico, our lovely Nico, who's become a dad, hasn't he? His little baby was born yesterday. It's all over social media, so congratulations to Nico and his lovely partner and their lovely new baby.
Have they named it, Kate? Is it Willie Williams?
No, they have named it, but I can't remember what it was. I'm not very good with things like that.
It's a boy or a girl? We don't know. Or not at the time of the... It's called Taiwo.
I can answer the England question easily.
Yes, Molo.
I support if you like, the badge on the shirt. I'm a Forest supporter, not Nuno. Obviously, Brian Clough made a hugely, deeply impact on all of us, but ultimately I'm a Forest supporter. And whilst Ange wasn't my first choice and he's not got off to a great start, I think you make a lot of that. It's interesting though, isn't it, Dave? And just to spark you off, two things. Firstly, the only reason you noticed I'm short is because we're the same height, near enough. And secondly, who I thought, I know we talk about an individual game, I thought he was quite pragmatic and made a lot of good choices for Newcastle and was actually quite unlucky with a number of reasons, alongside a crap ref, two of our best players making really poor errors, having had really good game, one of them. But who did he turn to when he needed to shore things up, when he was like, where do I go to have that battle? It's a genuine question. I'm not just saying it because of your previous opinions. Genuinely, and a lot of Forest fans were the same when they saw the team sheet. But who's your go-to man when things are going badly? You want people to roll up their sleeves. Andy's a much, much better player than he's ever given credit for some reason, who didn't give the ball away in the whole game barely. His passing stats were incredible. And I don't care if it was sideways and backwards half the time. We were playing away at Newcastle. And he turned to Ryan Yates, didn't he? And I know in the past you've always thought we needed slightly better. If Douglas Luiz is fit, and we know that is a massive if, Juventus don't sell top players for half the price they paid for them 1 year later unless there's a reason, and it concerns me that a little bit. But when Luiz is fit, he's an absolutely class player, and he's a shoo-in, I get that. But who's he turned to with a couple of injuries, with Sangare bottling tackles and only looking good when he's got 100 yards of space? He rolls out, and he, having been out in the freezer virtually, by his own admission, a terrible game at Swansea, Yates, he steps out there and he performs. If everybody else, this is the phrase I use a lot now, if everybody did their job, including the manager, shall we say, as well as Yates does the job he's supposed to do, we wouldn't be in any trouble whatsoever. And bringing that back to Ange, I admire the fact that he was prepared to change things, including putting Yates in, but the back five, I think that was a wise decision. And I also think, for me, this is a bit controversial, I think we go all the way to Christmas with Ange. You can't embed a new philosophy in 6-7 games. And if we're still in trouble at Christmas, and I mean in the bottom five, and there aren't huge signs of recovery, if he's available and if he wants to come to us, then it has to be somebody to put out fires like Sean Dyche. Give him a 2 or 18-month contract, knowing that he's probably only going to get 6 months or whatever. Managers today, to go back to one other point you made, that I thought was a good point, are we an attractive proposition? I read a great article some time ago where somebody was pointing out it's all nearly, for all these 5-year plans and everything, and your occasional manager that's there forever, managers work in almost 2-year cycles. If you get 2 years in the same job, you're doing well. They don't care. They're going to get Marinakis saying, here's this massive chunk of wedge to come and work at this fantastic football club with probably some of the most passionate fans you'll get, which can go wrong sometimes, as we've seen. Here's a huge chunk of money. They're thinking, brilliant, I've got that. That's my life sorted for the rest of my life. If I do well, I'll get even more money. If I get sacked, everyone's going to say, oh, well, he got sacked at Forest. That doesn't mean anything nowadays with Marinakis. I think it actually could, conversely, work for us in a weird way, unless you get a manager who wants to build a club from the bottom up, because he doesn't seem to want that to happen. And he is, given preference to Edu ahead of his manager, arguably. So that's where I stand on quite a few points there. But yes.
Sounds like Molo, you're prepared to hold your nerve with regards to Marinakis. It's something you mentioned earlier, Dave. Where do you stand about holding your nerve? Are you somebody who clearly? I mean, in an ideal world, we would all want it to work for Ange Postecoglou, but it's not working at the moment. So what would you do? Where would you hold your nerve and wait a little bit longer, or are you on the verge of swinging that axe? If you were Marinakis, Dave, what would you do?
So there's a bit more with Ange to think about. So firstly, I think there's a hangover for him coming in from the Tottenham job.
Oh yeah,
and I think he has underestimated how much that has worn on him. And so part of it, I just feel like he's not handling the press as well. He could have handled the Forest fans were booing, and there's a saying that they teach you in PR training when you're managing an oil spill and you've killed some dolphins. He should have really placated it's called the CAM. So you've got to care about the people that are actually worried, you're affecting. And so he should have said, well, the Forest fans are entitled to their opinion and I can feel their passion. And I can feel that it's coming through. Instead of, he's just a bit smart-arsery. And so he should have placated it a little bit more. And, I just haven't loved his answers. And I think some of his answers haven't been as good because of that problem. Part of it is we're not going to be as close to it. Marinakis and Edu are going to be seeing the way that he's interacting with the players. And it's not surprising that he turns to Yates because in terms of club people, Yates is going to be 10 out of 10. And the reason why we have Yates in the team and why a lot of people like him, and I like him as well, but there are times when I don't feel he's good enough, is that he is... if you've got to turn to, I need the player on the field who is going to try the hardest for me and wants Nottingham Forest to succeed. It's more interested in Forest than their own personal goal. Then Yates is going to be that player. And so we saw Steve Cooper turn to Yates, remember, when the chips were down to Steve Cooper. And I'm sure if Nuno was in the same situation. So it certainly makes sense. So back to your holding your nerve. I also think Ange Postecoglou has been a little bit unlucky. He was arrogant in the Swansea match when we were up by 2. And it's almost like playing Championship Manager. He thought, yep, we've won this game. Let's just ring the changes. Nothing's wrong. Nothing can possibly go wrong. Let's put on the other guys. And then he blew it. He blew it in that regard. He was a bit unlucky in the other one. The Michelin one, he's just been a little bit unlucky. And the thing is, in these matches, the margins are so small, right? The difference between, Forest and Bournemouth, and, sometimes these margins can be such a small percentage. And so we sit here on these podcasts, I would have brought the guy on 5 minutes earlier. That's enough. If you bring the right player on at the right interval, and so I worry Ange's decision-making and those things are not improving. Back to your original question, Simon, is how long do you hold on? I want to see signs by that next international break that I can feel confident that a bit of the playing style is coming. And I think it's our role as, Nottingham Forest fans to throw support behind it. But then there's also that thinking, and I don't know where you want to fall on it, Simon, for this podcast, but do you sit there as a podcast and say we should be pressuring them to Ange out because that's best for the future of the team? I'm not sure that's where you would want to go, but some people would certainly have that feeling. So I think you've got Marinakis and Edu will know better than we will, and whatever decision they make will be the right one. And at the time when they picked Postecoglou, that was the correct decision based on what information they had. They've just now got more information. So is it going to change their decision? Time will tell.
Netflix has a new monstrous story to tell. In 1950s Wisconsin, Ed Gein lived quietly on a decaying farm, hiding a house of horrors so gruesome it would redefine the American nightmare. Driven by isolation, psychosis, and an all-consuming obsession with his mother, he committed crimes that would haunt Hollywood for decades. The third and most harrowing installment of Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan's anthology series. Watch Monster, the Ed Gein story, streaming now only on Netflix.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This episode is brought to you by CBS. DMV is a brand new workplace comedy turning misery into magic and chaos into comedy. Starring Harriet Dyer and Tim Meadows, DMV is here to serve you laughs. Watch October 13th at 8:30, 7:30 Central on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
I want to call out one thing there, and that's that maybe Marinakis has got a track record of that we can say he knows. I'm not yet convinced that Edu knows what he's doing. The last thing Forest needed this summer was to sign 13 new players and start over. That's clear to anybody who knows anything about football ever. Yes, we lost.
We've done that before, Molo. How many times have we done that?
That's
like
exactly.
To your point.
So why?
Every time we've signed 13 players, we've looked a mess. We've done it again.
Yeah, exactly. And this is my point. Edu should have been I would have imagined, should have been the calming influence, saying, yes, we've lost a terrific player in Elanga, and we're going to need to probably have a couple of wingers, at least. But to sign, I don't even know how many wingers we've signed, I always forget, 28 or 30 or whatever, but the wingers we keep signing, that's just too many, and you've ended up with, and we've gone over this before, but we've ended up with players not in the European squad and things like that, who actually are starting to look okay and could have done a job for us. And I think the caveat to what I said about Christmas is also that we're still in Europe and not losing games to teams like Michelin and ending up out of Europe, because the most informed team in Europe at the moment happens to be Porto, of course.
Yeah, I would argue, Marlo, that actually the transfer window was met with quite a lot of optimism at the time. I remember saying that I thought it was a good transfer window. I would also say that probably our biggest signing of that transfer window was Morgan Gibbs-White. And, unfortunately, that's not quite working out how we wanted it to. And for me, it's not necessarily the signings that we made or didn't made or should have made or any of that with Edu. Is this hierarchy, this who's in charge, whose job is what, and that worries me more about attracting a new manager, the Edu situation, and like I think I've said before, that the circus that currently surrounds Nottingham Forest and often does surround Nottingham Forest. But for me, we made some great signings in the transfer window, some unexpectedly great signings, and
we did get the squad dynamic wrong, Kate. We should have signed one fewer winger and signed a fullback, or kept Harry Toffolo, shouldn't we?
Harry Toffolo, sure. Yeah.
I love Toff.
The Toffolo makes the team now, Molo.
Right now,
Toffolo would be in the team.
Absolutely, yeah, because of the situation we found ourselves in. However, that's because we signed another player. I mean, I've got to say, and I think Dave can back me on this on one of the WhatsApp groups, actually, that I made the point consistently, the longer, as we got to deadline day, you don't win a transfer deadline trophy, you don't win a transfer window trophy, and we've signed too many. Why have we signed so many? And I genuinely believe that's the big thing. Of course, we needed signings, especially with losing Elanga, but we didn't need 13. And like Dave said, one or two fewer wingers, so that we actually they're in both the squads. And you're absolutely right about the dynamic thing as well. Can
I?
Managers don't care. They'll come in if they're not in work, earn their millions. If they have to put up with Edu for 12 months, 18 months before they get sacked and get their payout, they'll do that, won't they, unfortunately?
Yeah, so let's talk about the manager situation then. So we've already mentioned Sean Dyche is in the news now as a potential replacement. So we have Molo, you're prepared to give Ange until Christmas. Dave, you've said give Ange until the international break in November. Kate has gone on record as saying to give him Chelsea. So we've got three different viewpoints here as to when a change should be made. And if that change should be Sean Dyche, Kate, I know you've got an opinion on Sean Dyche, and I know Molo has too from a previous show. And what are your thoughts there, Kate, on Sean Dyche? He's Forest, Nottingham through and through, isn't he? He knows the club. He's got Ian Wone as his assistant. Where are your concerns? Is it with his track record, or is it with his style of play, or is it something else?
We all love Ian Wone, okay? We all love Ian Wone. It is not Ian Wone that is coming to manage the team.
Watch those highlights again, Kate.
I would just like to make that point to all the people that I've spoken to about Sean Dyche. The first words out of their mouth are Ian Wone, okay? We're talking about Sean Dyche. Yes, we love Ian Wone. It would be lovely to see him back. But we're talking about Sean Dyche. Now, I'm going to quote somebody here, because we've been having this conversation a lot on the Garibaldi Girls chat. And a very wise woman who is called Emily said, Sean Dyche is and I'm going to quote, shit, it's February and we're still in trouble kind of manager, okay? And when I read that, I thought she's absolutely nailed it, okay? And that's how I feel about Sean Dyche. I agree with everything you've just said, Simon. He loves Nottingham Forest. We all know he comes to practically every game. We all know that he's always wanted to manage Forest. All these things are positive. Yes, I think he would bring some stability, which is great in February. Right now, I don't feel like Dyche is right for right now. I feel it's lurching from one extreme to the other, and there is a time and a place for Sean Dyche. I'm just not sure that it's now. Hopefully we're going to get a bit of money coming in for our gift to Newcastle. You're welcome. And I'm not talking about the result. Is that something we can play about with in buying certain other managers that have been linked with us out of their contracts? That might be what I would be looking to do, because I do think that if we're going to make this change, it needs to be the right change. We can't just keep making mistake after mistake after mistake. I honestly can't see it working with Ange at the moment. But like I said, give him Chelsea, take it game by game. I'd love to be proved wrong. Do I want to see Dyche in the dugout at Chelsea? No, if I'm honest, I don't.
Where do you stand, Dave, as a Sean Dyche? Are you pro Sean Dyche? If there was to be a replacement, let's say, and Ange has unfortunately lost his job, are you in the Sean Dyche camp right now, or are you more like Kate and think he's a, oh shit, it's February, let's get out of trouble kind of manager?
He's one of those. It's like Sam. It's like a big Sam from 20 years ago. It's just another extreme from extreme. We're just propping from one to the other. If I was to actually genuinely say, Sean Dyche, well, would you welcome back Steve Cooper walking back through the door, for example, which is an extreme suggestion. But I would actually take Steve Cooper back through. Yeah, I would actually take Steve Cooper back through the door rather than Sean Dyche. And Steve Cooper, can you imagine the homecoming if it was Steve Cooper? That would be incredible. And it's like, yeah, I'm back to save. Here I am back to save the day. The problem with them, I think, guys, we've got to also back that. You've got to back the Edo appointment. So the thing is with Marinakis, and I say this to Forest fans a lot, what is the one thing that is most important for Nottingham Forest's long-term success? And when you really boil it down to it, it is actually the ongoing success of the Marinakis family and his business ventures. And so as long as he continues to be successful in those, he can keep investing in Nottingham Forest. And if he has to babysit Nottingham Forest because the manager's not substituting players off when they're injured and doing all sorts of things like that, then he cannot focus on his other things. And he needs someone in the chair like Edu to be the gap between the manager. And Nuno just couldn't do that. And so Postecoglou was prepared to play that position. And so maybe there's a whole bunch of other managers that wouldn't. So that would have put Postecoglou ahead. And maybe Sean Dyche, because he loves the team and wants to get back into management as well, does. Certainly Steve Cooper knows what he's up for. But they're not exactly quaking in your boots. Crystal Palace isn't quaking in their boots thinking about Nottingham Forest getting Steve Cooper or Sean Dyche back, are they? If that's the league that we're in. So it's a tricky time for Forest. Look, if Dyche comes in because Postecoglou's out, it also wouldn't surprise me, Simon, if Postecoglou self-selected out and said, you know what, guys, this ain't for me, I'm out. That also wouldn't surprise me.
Is he that type of person then, Dave? Because it's very rare nowadays that you see a manager call it quits on his own terms. It's usually either by mutual consent, and Mollo's right, making that money sound. It's usually they don't resign because they would lose their payout. Is Ange the type of manager who would quit if it didn't go well and effectively forfeit that payout? Is he likely to do that, or will he have his business head on?
I think he's going to have his business head. He's more likely than any of the others to do it. He's also a pretty proud guy. You know, he's 60 years of age. He's made enough money. Like he could call it quits right now, come back to Australia, do commentary on whatever he wanted, and just be done with it. So he's not going to be struggling to buy a lovely house on the harbour of Sydney if he was to choose to do that. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I wouldn't expect him to do it.
He's also got to think about the staff he takes with him, though, Dave, who don't get paid. Yeah, you can knock noughts off what the manager gets paid compared to his support staff. And if I was a manager somewhere, and I would consider close friends, reliable people, you've got to think of them as well. A bit like Kate said earlier, we all love to see him wone around the place, and he wouldn't be on anything like the salary Dyche would be. I sit slightly differently on the Dyche situation, although I don't disagree with Kate saying if we are in trouble in February still, whoever the manager is, then that's where we're at. I think February's pushing it a little bit. The problem we've got with modern managers as well is they all get typecast, don't they? Like we've got Ange, who can only play a certain way and he can only do this and he won't change, even though we've seen him completely change it at Newcastle. We've talked about Steve Cooper, who the typecast he's got now is he struggles in the Premier League, even though he was given the utterly crap team at Leicester and had them out of the relegation zone when he was sacked, and was thrown 30 players over a 12-month period and kept us up.
But he made the same mistake Postecoglou did, Mollo, at
clash with Marinakis.
He went in. Yeah. No, he went in too quickly after his Nottingham Forest failure, and he should have waited. If Steve Cooper came in now to manage Forest, he would be enormously better than he was 2 years ago. He would know heaps more.
And the thing is, your manager has got to be a good coach, etc., etc. And I think people are doing Dyche a disservice. He's never managed a proper group of decent players like we've theoretically got now, although some of them have yet to prove it. The best team he's ever managed is arguably maybe an Everton team that were weak with Ashley Young at fullback and having to sell players left, right and centre, or a Burnley team that were punching above their weight. He knows how to get a defence tight for starters. We know that, and he likes wingers that do a job. And I haven't heard anything of some of those wingers that we thought were quite good at Everton since they've changed managers. I can't remember his name now. They had one wing I always thought looked reasonable. He gets the best out of his wingers, and he's certainly got plenty of those to work with. And we know for a fact he gets the best out of Chris Wood, because he managed to score 12 or 14 goals every season in a way weaker Burnley side and squad. So whilst I'm not saying, wow, he is the Ginger Mourinho, we've got this great manager who wants to come to us, I think you look at the pure football reasons, and as Kate said, at the right time, not now, definitely not now, and for me, definitely not after Chelsea. But if you think who is going to get us out of this hole, short term, because let's be honest, we don't do long-term managers anymore at Nottingham Forest. I think we're in that. If we did, Steve Cooper would still be here. Yeah, he has the footballing pedigree, and okay, his style might not be perfect when they're up against it, but it's a results-driven business, and we need W's on the board. Nothing else matters anymore. And I'd actually think when you've seen Burnley in full flow at their best, with a weaker side than what we've got now, other than one or two of their centre halves went on to do really well, they weren't a bad side to watch at all. And I'm not suggesting this is not, wow, he's the best manager in the world. I just think the rhetoric, and Dave touched on it earlier about Ange. You talked about the hangover from Tottenham on him. The hangover from Tottenham as well. It's the circus and stuff that follows him from the press. I haven't seen hardly any reports in the press saying, actually, Ange has changed his style. The local press have, obviously. Ange has changed his style for the game away at Newcastle, with three centre-backs, really defensive, Yatesy smashing it in the middle. There's so many almost stereotypes now, isn't there? And Dyche is a far better manager than he's given credit for when you look at the players he's worked with and still never got relegated.
For the record, where I sit with regards to Sean Dyche is that if he is to be the next manager, I would give him a very short-term deal until the end of the season, sort of like a prove-it kind of deal. Yeah. Prove you deserve a longer contract than just to the end of the season. If it doesn't work out and the worst happens and we get relegated, then clearly he's not the man. So the short-term deal would work in that sense. But if he was to keep us up, or even better, enable us to progress in one of the cup competitions, the FA Cup or the Europa League, then that in itself is evidence to suggest perhaps that he deserves a long-term deal. But it also keeps options open for somebody like Marco Silva, whose contract is up at the end of the season. And if he was interested in joining Forest at that time, there would be no compensation like there is now. So that's why a short-term deal for Sean Dyche works for me.
Well, whoever is the long-term thought, and I agree 100% with that, what you said there, whoever is the long-term thought then gets a pre-season. And that has become more and more important in football, even than it ever was. And it has always been important, but now more than ever, because of the psychology of the game. And yes, players have to do their job, etc., etc. But, we've all played in teams where you've got that camaraderie and your results are better than the sum of your parts. We've seen it at Forest many times, like last season. And it's all of that together. And a change of style is a lot easier to implement over a pre-season, apart from when you've got idiot fans who start counting pre-season matches. We don't know. I'm not talking about the results, though. Results are irrelevant. And our pre-season was a mess because every single pre-season game... Yeah, it was irrelevant. Pre-season means nothing, Dave, unless you're working in pre-season with a bunch of players who half of whom aren't going to play anyway, and then you get however many players it is given to you 2 days before, whatever, a couple of days after the start of the season, never mind before the start of the season. You need if you were working with the current squad in pre-season, I guarantee, whether it be Nuno, whether it be Ange, whether it be you and me, they would not be performing as poorly as they are right now. There's no doubt in my mind about that. You can see that.
I think you'll find that Ange Postecoglou and the training sessions, and if you go back and watch that first training with Ange Postecoglou and the Forest Club, I don't think I've posted a training video since. They're doing a whole bunch of more running and a whole bunch more fitness stuff. And my take is that you can see they're a bit more tired on the field and a bit more lethargic. And so, for instance, why didn't Chris Wood get that header? It's because Chris Wood is working harder on the field than he ever had to under Nuno. And because Chris Wood wasn't working hard on the field, he was being saved for those goal-scoring opportunities. But under the Ange system, it's the high press and the running around. He's doing far more running than he's ever been asked to do before, and that tires him out, which means that he doesn't get the headers. And so that's a big problem with the Postecoglou style. And so back to the point of the original one, if Postecoglou has the pre-season, then he maybe gets them to be fitter to play his style, and they've got to be better. But it's a big gamble at the moment to have done that and have 7 matches on with no win. Goodness me.
And all that possession as well.
I know Kate's got a quiz lined up for us all, guys, but just before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about your hopes for the remaining part of the season, Dave, in terms of what are your objectives if you, as a Forest fan, if you were the manager, is it purely for you stability, or do you still see hope that Forest can do some damage in the FA Cup and the Europa League? Because let's face it, the Premier League, as things stand right now, they're not going to be in the upper echelons of the Premier League. So what are your hopes and dreams for the rest of the season, Dave?
It's a long Premier League season, so my hopes and dreams... Look, the Premier League is the paramount thing. My hopes and dreams for that is that we can put a run together at some point and not be sitting around the Manchester United relegation positions where we're kind of in the relegation zone, but we're not really, because we're a better team than that, and everyone knows that we're a better team than that, but you could get sucked in. So firstly, I want us to put a run together at some point. Now, in terms of Europa, goodness me, I love waking up at 6 a.m. on a Friday morning and getting to watch Nottingham Forest. I can tell you it is the best. The Forest in Europe is the greatest thing that has happened to me in Nottingham Forest watching in my entire lifetime. It is awesome. So please don't make it 6 more matches. You've got to keep going. Please, guys. They have to put a run together. So, look, we could easily lose to Porto, but I can feel a run coming after that. And then an FA Cup. Look, you'd love to believe under Ange that somehow they put together a cup run in one of these 2 cup competitions in a final would be brilliant, and also make me drop 15 grand again on coming to London to watch a match. In terms of optimism, mate, I'm not optimistic. I was so optimistic at the start of the season. I thought we could finish 5th. I genuinely did. Now, if you offered me 15th and quarterfinals of both, that'd be a terrific season. That'd be great. I'd bite your hand off.
Does it really cost 15 grand to travel over to London to watch a game then, or to
the UK? Well,
15
grand of my grand. It's dollary dues, Simon. So that's a little bit less than the pound sterling. So it's pretty expensive. And you've got to turn up. I've got to then buy drinks for Mollo and his 78 mates. It's a pretty expensive day out for me.
My understanding is you flew to the playoff final from New York. Is that correct?
No, I flew to the semi-final from New York, so I spent a bit of time. Right. So I flew to the end of the... Yes, Simon, you've actually hit a nerve for me. So I have one of the great life regrets is not going to the playoff final. It's just, I've been heartbroken by Forest so many times. So I chose not to go to the playoff final, and so I decided... So at that point, I'd never seen Forest lose live. So then I came across for the second relegation season when I thought we needed to win on the last day, and we ended up... I saw the Chelsea match, the Burnley match. But no, I came across... I flew from New York just for the... I actually had WrestleMania tickets, Simon. I gave them up so I could come to the... So for anyone know, like big wrestling, big Forest. So I gave up my WrestleMania tickets so I come to the FA Cup semi-final, and my girlfriend's boss got us tickets in the fancy section, which was terrific. So, yeah, one of the great days, even though we lost. It's probably the best sporting event where my team's lost that I've been to that FA Cup semi-final. And so, just the Forest fans on that day, they were incredible. The story I always tell is how you couldn't hear the Manchester City player name announcements. And so that just blew my mind. I'm like, who are these guys? I'm like, Jeremy Morocco, Erling Haaland. You can't even hear them because the Forest fans just drowned it out. It was so good. Just the best.
It was.
You don't technically need this car. You say that out loud to yourself. You say, I have no space. You say, I'm just looking. Then you click. Then you zoom in on photo number 87 and whisper, oh no. Then you text a friend, the one who always enables you. You say to yourself, this is the last one, knowing it is not. You don't need this car. But maybe, just maybe, this car needs you. Bring a trailer. It's never just a car.
The sick day struggle is real. But with Diamond Tap, It doesn't have to be. Children's Dimetapp works quickly to soothe multiple bothersome cough, cold, and allergy symptoms in a single dose. Our fast-acting formulas are designed with kids in mind, so they get everything they need and nothing they don't. Available in liquid and on-the-go chewable tablets. Tap the banner now to shop at Amazon and say goodbye to the sick day struggle with Dimetapp. Use as directed.
A message from McAfee. Wondering why the post office is texting you or why you owe thousands of dollars in toll fees? Because someone's trying to scam you. The good news? McAfee can help. With McAfee's award-winning scam detection, it's easy to tell what's real and what's fake over text, in your inbox, and online. If they're
You want a free gift.
Seriously? If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keep-it-real.
Right, let's move on then, Kate. I believe you've put a quiz together for us to be challenged on. Do you want to kick it off?
So yeah, I decided to go a little bit different this week. So I want to try and see if this works, a quick fire. So the questions should be a lot easier than normal, especially after Mollo, failed for the first time last week to get the answer right.
Partially failed.
Oh.
There's no partially
is it recent
about
seasons,
it,
Kate, or is the answer Neil Webb?
So the idea of this is quick fire. So a couple of seconds to answer. I've done them in sets of 3, so it's going to go Simon, Dave, Mollo, Simon, Dave, Mollo, Simon, Dave, Mollo, Simon, Dave, Mollo, and see how far we get. And yeah, so let's have a go. Let's have a go. See how you do.
No pressure, guys. No
pressure whatsoever. So yeah, this should be fairly easy, but there is pressure. We're all about pressure at the moment. So time pressure. Time. You don't have time, guys.
I feel like Ange.
Neither does Ange.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got
are you
until
ready?
Liverpool match. Yeah. Sure, let's go.
Yeah.
You ready?
Chelsea.
So Simon, Dave, Mollo. This is the order, okay?
Yeah.
Right. Question 1. When was Forest founded?
1865.
Dave, what song do Forest players run out to?
Do they run out to? I don't ever get to see them run out. So it's Mull of Kintyre they sing to, but they don't run out to that.
No, they don't.
Welcome to the jungle.
Well done, Simon.
Oh, welcome.
Mollo.
Okay.
Who
That's
is the fastest ever goal scorer for Forest?
Nigel Clough.
Paul Smith.
No, Jack Lester. Simon, what year did Forest win their first league title?
1970. What, you mean top league title or?
League title.
Was it 78?
Yes.
1978.
Dave, how many times have Forest won the league?
Once.
Yes. How many times have Forest won the League Cup, Mollo?
4.
Perfect. Okay. Simon, what is the record transfer fee?
What, paid or received?
Paid. Just the number.
37.5 million.
Dave, who was it for?
Who? Asking me. 37.5 million. Not Elliot Anderson, one of the recent ones. God. Is it Omar Hutchinson?
Yes. And what was the previous record transfer fee was for Anderson, Mollo? How much was that?
35 million, allegedly.
Perfect. Okay. Simon, who was the first shirt sponsor?
Home Ales.
Nope. Panasonic.
Panasonic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dave, what number does Taiwo Womney wear?
Taiwo wears number 9.
Mollo, what year did the crest change to its current format?
1974.
Yes. Right. Last round, everybody.
Good guess.
Simon, how many days has Ange been in charge of Forest?
Days?
Days.
God. 35.
No, 32. Dave, which ex-Forest player currently plays in Australia?
It is Joe Lolly for Sydney FC.
Well done. Okay, Mollo, name any Australian who has played for Forest.
Aidan Davidson.
Yeah, there we go.
Tony Carboni.
Hey.
All done.
Yeah.
Tony Carboni.
What are the other Australians?
So we've got Alan Davidson, Jason Cummings, Adam Federici, David Tarker, Gareth Edds, John Phelan, and Josh McDonald.
I did not realise Gareth Edds was Australian.
I thought
John
Jason
Phelan.
Cummings was Scottish.
He was a goalie, wasn't he? He was a keeper.
Yeah, Jason Cummings. I didn't know he was Australian. I
Yeah,
thought he played in
was
Australia.
Scottish.
No, well.
Only tell you what Google AI told me.
Yeah, well, I took the first one that ever played for Forest. I'll just remember him. I remember, because you know when you're young and you sign anybody and you think they're going to be the best thing ever when you're really young as at school. I remember thinking, oh wow, and he looked a little bit like Des Walker. I thought, wow, we're going to have two great centre-backs. But he wasn't.
Right,
Quick one, just for you, Simon. The trivia question I always ask when someone's, I'm an Arsenal fan. Do you know why Arsenal wear red, Simon?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great question. So it's such a good...
That's a great question.
It's such a good because Nottingham Forest gave them their spare jerseys. Such a good question.
Yeah, the version I've heard as well is that the reason they wear white on the sleeves is because they got given the jerseys, but then they ripped the sleeves off for whatever reason. They tore the sleeves off those jerseys, hence why they now wear white, because it's just a kind of a natural follow-on from tearing the sleeves off when they were given the jerseys. I don't know how true that is. But
I know it was two guys went down to work at the Gunnersbury factory, didn't they, from Nottingham that played for Forest. And why do AC Milan even exist? Because, come on, without Forest there'd be no AC Milan.
Well, they
forgot his name now. Yeah, I'll let you look that one up some other time.
Hey, that was a terrific trivia. That was good fun.
Yeah,
well, I just wanted to know something a bit different. So, yeah, you need to be faster. Faster, boys.
Yeah, maybe we can carry that forward into the regular show, Kate, when Chelsea's back as well, and have a quick fire quiz round or something, perhaps.
I love the Jack Lester question. I have no recollection of that at all, even though I was probably at the game.
Yeah, what game was that then, Kate? The Jack Lester quickest goal ever? Because I was thinking Paul Smith in mind when he played against Leicester in the League Cup tie when it was replayed, and he took the ball right from kickoff and scored.
I haven't got that book, so I can't answer that question.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
There's so many.
Right.
Who's the oldest Forest player ever? Dave Besson, isn't it?
Yeah,
we had that one, didn't we?
You had that one, didn't you? Actually, that's right. You had that one. I got that one. I remember listening. I'm like, it's Dave Besson. It's Dave Besson.
What about the youngest?
That is in my book.
Craig Westcott.
Oh yeah. Right, we're approaching the end of the show, guys. We'll give you, Dave, the final word on the show this week. Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts for Forest fans are just enjoy the roller coaster of supporting Nottingham Forest. I'm well known for trying to pitch people to support Forest. It is the roller coaster. When we win, it is so much better than anyone else winning. It's a community of fans, and I would just like to think that just give him a little bit more time, guys. I just want to. It's an experiment. It's a swing. Let's just see what happens. Let's see if he can grow into it, and let's just give him a little bit of support. And I think we should just trust in the guys that are there. And if it goes wrong, guys, that's okay. We're Nottingham Forest. We'll bounce back by February. We'll get Sean Dyche in. Okay, we'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And then lastly, Simon, the other one that I'd like to say is never forget that supporting Nottingham Forest live is a responsibility, and whilst it's also a privilege. And you get to see your team live every single week. There are thousands of people around the world like me that would absolutely love to get down to the City Ground for those matches and support those teams. And when you're sitting there and I'm not that much into it, or I'm not supporting them, like you can feel the energy through the TV watching of the Nottingham Forest fans, and it's when I'm pitching people on. Because in Australia right now, there's a lot of ground that's up for grabs for Premier League fans. And so I say, support Nottingham Forest. The fans are a big part of it. And so, keep going, guys. It's so good to be a Forest fan. It's great to be part of this show, Simon. So hopefully you like me and you might have me on again. We'll see how we go.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's been an absolute pleasure.
Are you on social media, Dave? Where can people find you on social media? Do you have any accounts?
I'm a little bit. I host an Australian rugby league show called the ET Stand Podcast, which is a rugby league show for the mighty Cronulla Sharks, my other failed love in life. So that's on YouTube, called the ET Stand Podcast. And then I'm a regular I'm off on Ben Dawes' show on Door on Tour, and so I've been on, what's the one with Max Hayes? Sometimes Max gets me on as well. Garibaldi. What's his one called?
It's the Garibaldi Red.
Yeah, the Garibaldi Red, he sometimes gets me on. So, but they're the two that I'm on. But I'm around. You can find me on Facebook. I'm not sure when I'm getting next to a match though. So, FA Cup final, actually, Simon, is the next match I'm coming to this season.
Okay.
I think I owe you a pint in. I'd like to give you that pint in Istanbul, ideally.
Yes.
That would
Well,
be
that'll be good.
nice.
That'll be another 15 grand. Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks, Kate, for the quiz. Thanks, Mollo, for jumping on too. Very early Sunday morning for us guys. So appreciate you coming on. Thanks again, Dave.
Just say quickly, Forest Ladies, 12 p.m. today against Durham. It's a long trip for those that don't go very often, but they will be on YouTube, so see if you can catch them at lunchtime.
Excellent. Right, that's it. Thanks again, Dave, for coming on the show. Shall definitely have you on again. In the meantime, thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back with you next week with a preview of the upcoming game against Chelsea. Thanks again for listening, and bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Weight loss solutions are not one-size-fits-all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.